Yo, welcome to another great episode of Two Paths Podcast, where you know you got your main man, the postman, my main man, LD, my other main man, D-Riles. And today we do have a very important guest that we're going to introduce you guys to. But before we get into that, for all our listeners, subscribers, non-subscribers, if you have not subscribed, please go to our YouTube channel at Two Paths Podcast and subscribe. Larry, let's get into it. Let them know who we got.
She is a resident of NYC. She lost her hearing at 35. Now she's an advocate for hearing loss. She is on the board of the Hearing Loss Association of America. She serves on the Bronx Disability Advisory Committee. She is the CEO of Hearing Loss Access LLC. She is a photojournalist who has documented rallies, protests, and cultural events across the United States. Lisi Pastrana.
Welcome in, Lisi. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Again, great introduction, Larry. So, Lisi, what we're gonna do? We're gonna get right into it, and we're gonna allow you to speak to the people, and just give us a little bit about who Lisi Pastrana is.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you guys. You guys are amazing to me. Who I am a New York Rican. My language is Spanish. So this is why you can hear a little bit of accent, Spanish accent, and then I have the New York accent, right?
Muy bien.
I was born and raised in East Harlem, Spanish Harlem. And I had my children at a very early age. I have 3 children. I lost one. And my parents, both of them from Puerto Rico, the island, they both came here to New York City, and they lived the American dream.
Okay.
They came here with absolutely nothing, and they built their empire here. And because I was the youngest child, right, I became their mediator as they grew their businesses. So they just threw me into going to the courts, dealing with lawyers, accountants, any business deal. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just being an interpreter, right? And because I knew English, my parents really trusted me with a lot of decisions, which I had no idea what I was making them right or wrong, but it worked out.
Right.
My father invested in real estate, and we just kept moving forward. We had grocery stores, we had laundromats, we had apartment buildings in New York City. And during all of that time, I became very close to the community. I was an advocate before I knew the word. My first advocacy was when New York City decided to have an animal shelter within a residential area. So they had a backyard, and they had these dogs outside barking and howling all day long and all day night. I mean, this was like 24/7. There wasn't cleaning up. The smell was horrific, and we started getting a lot of flies in the area, all kind of insects. So I just went into the center and I said, we need to have a meeting. And they knew nothing about me. I got to have a meeting with these people. I got in contact with the administrators. And I had held this huge meeting, and I invited the neighborhood. And while I was talking, I could see, people shaking their head. That what I was saying was not true. And I told them, I would invite you to spend a night in my apartment so you can see what happens during the night and the day. So the meeting went very, very well. And We just made an agreement that they would operate 12 hours and they would give the community 12 hours of peace of quiet. They would disinfect the yard completely. And that was my first advocacy. From there,
Mm.
moving along, I just started doing different things. Um, as far as my photojournalist, my older sister, may she rest in peace, she gave me my first camera when I was 13 years old. So I was taking pictures of all the family events. I never went to school for it. Fast forward, um, when they unalived Eric Gardner on Staten Island and YPD, that's when I became active with my camera. And I was just documenting everything that was happening, out shopping, everyone that you can think of that has to do with police brutality. Then I just got invited to different places. Freddie Gray, when they killed him in Baltimore, I went to Baltimore. I've been to a lot of states documenting that. And now I'm in the process of documenting all the Puerto Rican festivals in New York City because we are the dinosaurs right now, right? Because each generation, uh, not generation, but ethnicity, right, that come into the city, they become more visible, and the people that's been here is less visible. So we're losing a lot of festivals, we're losing a lot of concerts. So I'm documenting that. My goal with my pictures is my kids, my two boys, they have been instructed that they will make picture books out of this, out of all my pictures. I have tens of thousands of pictures. So
Hey,
I
Lisa.
got,
Oh wow.
Hey, so we're gonna rewind a little bit. I want to ask you this. So, coming up as a young kid, did you grow up? Did you spend your time in New York, or did you have a chance to spend a little time from where your parents were from? And how was that family dynamic?
we would go, growing up as a kid, we would go every year to Puerto Rico to see my grandparents, my uncles, I have brothers down there, and just family members. I think that when I went to Puerto Rico, that was the best time ever in my lifetime. My maternal parents, grandparents, they lived in a wooden house. They had an outhouse. And I just fell in love with nature. I fell in love with how they live. I didn't know at the time that that was poverty. My grandfather
Mm.
grew absolutely everything. We did not shop in any of the stores. The only thing that we really got at the store was bread. We had goats for milk. We had the chickens for eggs. We had the pigs, um, crabs, land crabs. We just ate off of the land, literally. Um, and in the beginning, of course, uh, as I remember as a child, it was kind of like a culture shock, right? Because I lived in New York and we had plumbing and everything, right? And we bought everything from the store. So um, I appreciate that year, that those years that I spent time in Puerto Rico, because it really gave me a sense of how much we don't have and have at the same time, and also how
Right.
much we waste as far as
Mm.
food, right? Family time, even family time. Um, in New York, in Puerto Rico, it's more close knit. The family, and they tend to
Hmm.
stay um, in their own towns. So you have more knowledge of your background, right?
Okay.
And I
Okay.
say that because my grandfather he was Taino Indian. My grandmother, maternal grandmother, she was a mix of Taino and the African slaves that came into Puerto Rico. So I was very aware of my culture, my background, who I was. I never had a problem with identity.
Mm.
The problem that I had growing up was that my language was Spanish, right, predominantly, and I
Hmm.
started learning English when I went to school. At that time, the school system, public school system, they were just passing kids to pass kids, and we really didn't get a good education. So I had a big hang up about education for a very, very long time. And I overcame that when my parents started growing their businesses. I was able to speak to people, and even though my language was not predominantly English, but I overcame that and I became more confident in who I was and how I spoke. So education became less and less of a hang up for me.
So did you have any brothers, sisters? And then also after you guys moved here and you settled into the New York, right, lifestyle, how was that dynamic in the house between you, mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever lived in that house? And then how did that affect you moving forward?
Well, I am the only child within the marriage. So both of my parents were married before. They both have children. My father's children are all very light skinned, fine hair. Um,
Like
and
yourself?
no, absolutely not like myself. My mom's children are all darker than me, right? So I grew up in that environment that color did not mean anything to me, right?
Okay.
And also I learned that colorism it's more um, a bigger thing in the United States than it is in Puerto Rico because
Mm.
Puerto Ricans come in all shades, right? So when I started going to school as a young kid, because my father was a superintendent at this really all-white neighborhood, I felt a lot of racism. I endured that racism from the white kids. Later
Right.
on, we moved to East Harlem, the barrio, and everybody there were Puerto Ricans and there were African Americans, and I felt racism there too because the Puerto Ricans that were shifting from Puerto Rico into New York City, they were light Puerto Ricans, right?
Mm.
And then they just made fun of me of how I spoke because I had this mixed, sound in my voice. The
Mm-hmm.
African American kept telling me I wasn't Puerto Rican because I didn't have Puerto Rican hair. So I never fit in with no one. And I think that
Mm.
even though it was hard for me to endure all those situations, but it made me a better person than I am today, right? Because I became a loner.
Go ahead,
When
coach.
it comes to your I remember you saying about your culture and the living, eating off the land and everything. I love going to the other countries, and even though Puerto Rico is part of the United States, it still has the same culture of the other Hispanic communities, islands around, and it's a real close knit family, and it's a lot of working together and living efficiently. So how did, and you mentioned about the festivals. How important are the festivals with the culture to keep it going? Not only I know they do it big in the countries, but when they come over to the United States, I don't feel like the United States is even ready for that type of culture because in a good way, in a good way, the culture what it brings is that those festivals, man, you guys have a lot of fun at those festivals, and it shows a lot of culture. So, how big is that for you to keep that going in New York and keep that established?
Very important. I make sure that I teach my grandkids and my kids about our culture, our history. That is very important to me. I just feel like if you don't know where you come from, you don't know who you are.
Mm.
Um, I keep the tradition alive. I'm one of the eldest now because a lot of my siblings have passed away, right? So I keep the tradition. So we don't have a lot of festivals right now, right? And there's a lot of festivals that bring in the African culture, right?
Mm.
The African
Mm.
music, and we're
Mm.
losing that, right? And we want to be able to keep those traditions alive have those concerts with that kind of music so the younger generation knows, our kind of music, our history, how we blend in, not only with the
Mm-hmm.
Taino Indians, but the Africans that came into Puerto Rico in the slave ship.
Okay. Okay. Coming from your parents coming from Puerto Rico, you growing up in East Harlem, and dealing with the different things of going to the schools with the different races and cultures, you know what I'm saying? Like you say, it was almost like racism for you because you never was able to fit in. So you wasn't good enough to fit in with this group or you wasn't good enough to fit in with that group. What kind of effect did that have on you growing up?
That affected my self-esteem a lot,
Wow.
especially my hair. That was a big thing. I spent years and years and years relaxing and straightening my hair because that was the look that was more acceptable at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I became very self-conscious of my hair. Now I've been fully natural.
This is really helping me is giving me a little more clarity and help me to understand, that there is a community out there that we don't hear about often, but also need to be advocated for.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And not just that,
Because yeah, think
Larry.
about it. When the
When you
emergency,
really look at it, when you really dive into it and really look at it in a totality, we can't. People deal with disabilities that to the untrained eye, normal eye, right? We can't see it because we're not looking for that. We've been groomed and raised to look for disabilities. And when you see something, oh, I see that guy with a cane, so I know he probably blind. I see that individual in a wheelchair, I know they probably got a problem with walking. I see this dude with a cast or arm in a sling, I know something's wrong with his arm. But when we're talking about, like, if I see someone with glasses, I know either they're probably for reading glasses, they're nearsighted, they're farsighted, or whatever the case may be. But with the hearing situation, if you don't actually see the hearing aid on someone, then you don't know that they're in the deaf community. Because now they got these
yeah, because
Bluetooths.
they'll sit there.
Go ahead, coach. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, because you'll be sitting there, you'll be there talking to somebody, and yeah, like they are dismissing you or they're not paying attention to what you're saying. You're like, hey man, you hear me talking to you? Like, man,
Right.
oh, okay. You like, oh man, like because sometimes you be ready to go in, or let's say you teaching and doing instruction, and somebody, what I'm saying, you start going, hey, and whatever, and they say I can't, you like, wow, but you're here, you're already fully into it and disrespecting them or whatever may be the case, embarrass them or whatever, put them on the spot and you're not aware of the disability. So that's why when
Mm.
she's talking about suing and things like that, because people just don't know, and then those things like that'll happen.
I wonder if
Mm.
there's a way, and I'm gonna Google this and get online later and do some research on this. But like, I wonder how often should you go get your hearing checked, right? Because I had never thought about getting my hearing checked at all
Annually, annually,
annually, huh?
yeah,
Go get
I
your
guess
hearing
that should be
checked.
a part of your annual physical,
yeah.
right?
Part of the system.
Because
Yeah.
you
Let them
get
know.
your blood work, but far as that, you think you fine. But what about that part, right? The
Mm.
hearing.
Hey,
Hey,
sometime a lot, but
if you keep
extra
having to
physical.
ask somebody, huh,
Mm,
huh, what'd you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, beg your
Yeah.
pardon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might need to go
Yeah.
get checked.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are all the indications right there. What
mm.
you finna say something, coach? Go ahead.
Yeah, because that stuff about hearing the doorbell ring or this and that. Sometimes you be trying to dial in because you know you're hearing bad. You be hearing stuff that ain't being done. You going out this man, what the, you going out there like, man, you crazy? Like ain't nobody run no doorbell. Like I could have swore I heard that doorbell ring. You know what I mean? And you be going through that and
Yeah.
running out. Y'all call me like, nah, ain't nobody called you like because you done lost your hearing in the sense, and you trying to pay extra attention. You know what I'm saying to it, and you be starting to hit things and stuff. He said, my
Yeah.
mind playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
said, you got the TV on 18, 19. Hey,
Yeah.
and they said it's loud in the house. And they say also, they say, why you talk so loud? Remember, you can hear yourself. So if you losing your hearing, you gonna speak what?
Louder.
Gonna speak louder.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it
And a
started
lot of
to
your
bring
speakers
home to
ain't.
me because I know sometimes I talk loud, right? I don't know if I'm just talking loud because of the atmosphere or because I might be experiencing some, I'm in delusion.
Be excited.
My hearing straight, right? But is it because I remember back in the day, how many people have had hump in they car?
It'll blow your eardrum.
Over time, because it's gonna affect you then, but it's over
015
time.
in the trunk, you know what I'm saying, with about 4 6x9 tweeters, you know what I'm saying, coming through
Gotta have
hard.
it.
Boom.
Gotta have it. Boom, boom, boom. And all that vibrating over time, you
You know what I'm
know?
Yeah.
saying? Rockable bars gate, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? With the fan and the
Okay,
cooling
you want
down,
that
it's coming
point?
through
You
bumping
Hey,
want that
hard.
point?
Hey,
Say it.
you can feel it in your heartbeat.
them serving bagels just bumping.
Okay. But
Every time the
I
car
ain't never
crank
be
up,
lost her.
the sound on.
Yeah. I wish I wish would have been should have been in a better area too, so we could have continued this conversation with her as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it was very educational. And probably just have to reach out to her and schedule another time to continue this because I do want to learn more. I do want to hear more about what was going on in the deaf community because you know what I'm saying we got grandparents and parents and stuff that now that she's talking we able to see certain signs in them. You know what I'm saying? And we come from a group of people that's very stubborn.
I do want to say that what affects hearing loss? It could be everyday traffic. It could be the music, the plugs we put in our ears, right? Um, just environment. It could be an illness, a head injury, anything very simple can affect your hearing. So I remember back in the days in school, we would get our hearing tests every year. We don't have that anymore. We need to bring
Mm.
that back. We need to implement that, right? Because a lot of times our children are in school and they're failing at school and we're wondering what's going on, why they're not learning. We may be thinking that they have a learning disability, and all it is hearing loss.
I experienced that with my daughter, right? She didn't have hearing loss, but we didn't know she was blind as a bat, right? So she was trying to bless her heart because she was young. She was like 4 or 5, right? So trying to look at the board in class was difficult for her. So we was trying to understand why she didn't get stuff, right? Come to find out, she couldn't see the board, right? We got her some glasses, changed the whole dynamics of her life, right? So a lot of the times it's not the person, right? It's the disability that they suffering with in silence or don't even know they suffering with a disability, right? So we appreciate you for bringing this awareness because now I'm really aware now, right? I'm gonna go do some research.
Right.
Also, the kids, right? Also, with the kids, right? Sometimes they experience almost like equivalent to like you think you're up under water and it may be fluid. That's why the ear, nose, and throat has to be checked because sometimes they can't hear it. They can't function and it affects their speech. You know what I'm saying? And you wonder why they're not speaking their speaking delay. You're like, hey, they should be able to talk. And sometimes there's something going on in there that needs to be drained or clogged up so that they can be able to hear and, get it, and so they can go through that normal process. So my grandson is going through that. Yeah.
Hey, Lisi,
Absolutely.
How often should we go get our ears checked?
Every 2 years.
Okay.
Make it
We
part make it part of your annual exam and request it because they're not giving it to you. So
correct.
if you're losing your hearing and you're not getting hearing tests, by the time you figure out that you have a hearing test, you need hearing aids. You lost a lot of your hearing. So as far as me, right? I don't hear birds chirping anymore. I don't hear newborns crying. I do not hear smoke alarms. You know how loud smoke alarms are? I don't hear it at all. I don't hear when the microwave has finished and you hear that ding sound. The washing machine, the dryer, when the elevator comes to the floor, right? All of those things I cannot hear. I've lost 90% of my high frequency hearing in my both ears, in both of my ears. And that is a lot. I cannot hear the turn signal in my car anymore. And I didn't realize that I didn't hear all those sounds until I got my cochlear implant. And I was like, what is that? What is
Mm.
that? And as
Do they
Dimitri
have?
said, my speech was also it, it was more of a slur the way I was speaking, so I had to do rehab to again to learn how to speak, to pronounce my words correctly, so it doesn't affect your speech. um but the most important thing I can tell you guys is get your ears checked every 2 years.
Get your ears checked.
Get make sure your
Hey,
children get their ears checked.
Make sure your
Request
children
that.
get their ears checked.
hey,
And for
I want
my
to. Can
and for my
can you block
senior
out? Can you
citizens, for my senior
block out
citizens,
negativity, man?
for our senior citizens, stop being so vain and get them damn hearing aids so you can hear your grandchildren
Huh?
speak to you.
Y'all senior
Huh?
citizens,
Okay.
quit being stubborn.
Huh?
Okay.
Get your ears
What you
checked so you
say?
can hear your grandkids.
Yes, yes,
Huh?
yes. And
Man, I can't hear what y'all saying, man.
if anyone wants to
Oh
reach
man,
out to
cut it.
me, I am available. I can try to answer any questions you have. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer because I do work with my audiologist. She's an awesome person. And I also work with my surgeon that did the cochlear implant for me. So I have people in the healthcare field that also help me do my research and my presentations. And I cannot I really don't know how I got all of these connections, but I've done it somehow, and the support that I've gotten from different communities, especially the medical field, my model people that make the cochlear implant, the womanizers that have allowed me to do presentations in what we call the projects here in New York. Um, and I'm just amazed where I am from where I was born from, right? And thinking I was less than because I didn't have the proper education. I didn't have a college degree, right? And where I am today. So with that said, do not let any disability stop you from creating your dream.
Mm,
This is my dream,
mm,
and I am
mm.
living it. And if I have hearing loss, anyone else can create their dream.
Lisi, where can they find you?
I am on TikTok, but I am creating a new TikTok for my hearing loss. It's going to be called Warriors for Hearing Access. That will be my new TikTok handle for that. I am on Facebook. I'm also creating a line there, going to be the same handle, Warriors for Hearing Access. Um, but if you want to be personal, it's Lisi Pastrana. That's most of my handles. I have that as a personal handle. Um,
Can they
if
email
anyone,
you?
I'm sorry,
Can they email you?
they can email me at hearing at Warriors for Hearing Loss Access. But if you guys missed that, please reach out to Larry, Dimitri's Postman, and they will get in touch with me and I will contact you directly. This is what I'm here for. This is my mission, to help people that have hearing loss.
Cam, give us the recap.
Hey, wow. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it's great because we got an individual, East Harlem, Spanish Harlem, New York, rooted out of Puerto Rico. Great childhood, dealt with a lot of bullying, racism coming up, but also was the number one point man in the family business because of the opportunity to be able to have not a language barrier. They were able to be bilingual. So I can come to you and say, hey, what is this person saying to me in English because I only know Spanish. So it had a very pivotal role in the family and in the business wise. Dealt with some things with dealing with the hair tangling and all these different things. The texture of the hair kind of had some self-esteem issues, but all in all, continue to drive and become an overcomer. Today, we're dealing with an individual who is a very current and very dedicated and motivated advocate for the hearing loss community. Very diligent about their work and passionate because of what they're experiencing. So thank you, Lisi, so much for the story. Thanks for coming on here, spending this time with us. You gave an outlet where you can be found at, where they can reach you at. And we do look forward to speaking with you again in the future. Y'all go follow Lisi on TikTok at Absolucy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we follow her on. Anybody want to reach out to her can definitely come to us, and we will put you in contact with her. Thank you, Lisi. Anything you guys want to add?
Get excited.
Yeah. Hey, joking, man. I'm gonna reach out to Lil John with the Eastside Boys and all that hearing problems that he got. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. You know what I'm saying? He need to reach out to Lisa. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, thank you again, Lisa. You have a great day.
Thank you, guys.